Some of these conspiracies are wild, unsettling, and highly speculative. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. Dinosaur denial refers to the belief that dinosaurs never existed, challenging the mainstream scientific consensus about these prehistoric creatures. Some adherents argue that dinosaur fossils are elaborate hoaxes created by paleontologists to support evolutionary theory and secure research funding. Others claim that the bones attributed to dinosaurs actually belong to extinct reptiles or other known animals, misinterpreted or deliberately misrepresented by scientists. Certain religious groups view dinosaur fossils as a test of faith, planted by their deity to challenge believers' conviction in creation narratives. Some supporters of this theory point to the lack of complete dinosaur skeletons and the reconstructive nature of paleontology as evidence that the entire field is based on speculation rather than fact. The discovery of soft tissue in some dinosaur fossils has been used to argue that these creatures couldn't be millions of years old, as such organic material shouldn't survive for that long. Skeptics of dinosaur existence often cite the relative rarity of dinosaur fossils compared to other animals as evidence that these creatures are fabrications rather than real historical entities. Some dinosaur deniers believe that depictions in popular media, including films and documentaries, have been used to reinforce a false narrative about these creatures' existence. The Pentacle or Pentagram, a five-pointed star often enclosed within a circle, holds significant meaning in various spiritual and occult traditions. This symbol has been used for millennia, with its earliest known appearances dating back to ancient Mesopotamian cultures. In many pagan and Wiccan traditions, the pentagram represents the five elements: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit, with the circle encompassing them symbolizing unity and wholeness. Some practitioners believe that drawing or wearing a pentagram can offer protection against negative energies or evil spirits. The orientation of the pentagram is thought to influence its meaning, with the point facing upward associated with positive magic and spirituality, while the inverted pentagram is sometimes linked to darker practices. Contrary to popular misconception, the pentagram's use in magical practices predates its association with Satanism by centuries. Some esoteric traditions view the pentagram as a representation of the human body, with the 5 points corresponding to the head, arms, and legs. The geometric properties of the pentagram, including its relation to the golden ratio, have led some to believe it holds inherent power or significance in the fabric of reality. In certain alchemical texts, the pentagram is associated with the 5 planets known in classical times, each point representing Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Some modern occultists use the pentagram in rituals designed to invoke or banish spiritual entities, believing the symbol can open or close metaphysical gateways. Sheeple is a term combining sheep and people, used to describe individuals who allegedly follow the herd mentality without questioning authority or mainstream narratives. This concept suggests that a significant portion of the population blindly accepts information from governments, media, and other influential sources without critical thinking. Believers in the Sheeple theory often point to widespread acceptance of official explanations for major events, despite potential inconsistencies or alternative interpretations. The idea of Sheeple is sometimes linked to the concept of cognitive dissonance, where people may ignore contradictory information to maintain their existing beliefs and avoid mental discomfort. Some argue that social conditioning through education systems, mass media, and social norms creates a population more susceptible to manipulation and less likely to challenge the status quo. Psychological phenomena like conformity bias and the bystander effect are cited as evidence of humans' tendency to follow group behavior even when it contradicts their personal judgment. Those who use the term often believe that breaking free from the Sheeple mindset requires actively seeking alternative information sources and questioning commonly held beliefs. Historical examples of mass delusions or widely accepted falsehoods that were later disproven are sometimes used to support the idea that large groups can be misled. The concept of Sheeple is particularly prevalent in conspiracy theory circles, where it's used to explain why alternative explanations for events are not more widely accepted. Some sociologists and psychologists acknowledge that group thinking can influence individual behavior, lending some credence to the underlying concept even if not to its more extreme interpretations. Bread and circuses refers to a political strategy of distracting the public from important issues through diversionary entertainment and superficial appeasement. This concept originates from ancient Rome, where emperors would provide free food and spectacular gladiatorial games to maintain public approval. In modern contexts, it describes the use of mass media, sports events, celebrity culture, and consumerism to keep the population docile and uninvolved in political matters. Some argue that governments and corporations deliberately promote trivial news stories and sensationalize content to divert attention from more pressing societal problems. The proliferation of reality TV shows, social media platforms, and constant entertainment options is seen by some as a modern manifestation of this strategy. Critics of this theory point to instances where public attention has shifted rapidly to serious issues, challenging the idea that people can be consistently distracted. Supporters of the bread and circuses concept often cite the decline in civic engagement and political participation in many developed countries as evidence of its effectiveness. Some sociologists argue that the increasing complexity of modern society naturally leads people to seek simplification and escapism rather than it being a deliberate strategy. The theory suggests that by keeping the population entertained and basic needs met, those in power can more easily maintain their position and implement policies without significant opposition. Historical examples, such as the use of spectacles in totalitarian regimes or the correlation between economic downturns and increased entertainment consumption, are often used to support this idea.
Like this video and subscribe to Maker.
Corporate lobbying refers to the practice of businesses and industry groups influencing government decisions and policies through various means of persuasion and financial support. This process often involves hiring professional lobbyists who have established relationships with lawmakers and government officials. While lobbying is a legal and regulated activity in many countries, some argue that it gives corporations undue influence over the democratic process. Lobbyists may provide lawmakers with drafted legislation, research papers, and talking points that align with their corporate interests. The revolving door phenomenon, where individuals move between public sector jobs and private industry positions, is seen as evidence of the close ties between corporations and government. Campaign contributions from corporations and their political action committees are often viewed as a form of indirect lobbying, potentially influencing politicians' decisions. Some argue that corporate lobbying leads to policies that benefit businesses at the expense of public interests, citing examples like environmental regulation rollbacks or tax loopholes. Supporters of lobbying claim it provides valuable industry expertise to policymakers, helping to create more informed and effective legislation. The significant financial resources corporations dedicate to lobbying efforts suggest they find it to be an effective means of shaping policy outcomes. Transparency initiatives that require disclosure of lobbying activities and expenditures have revealed the extensive scale of corporate influence attempts in many governments. Some studies have shown correlations between corporate lobbying expenditures and favorable policy outcomes, suggesting a tangible return on investment for these activities. High fructose corn syrup is a sweetener derived from cornstarch that has become widely used in processed foods and beverages since the 1970s. Some researchers argue that the body processes high fructose corn syrup differently than other sugars, potentially leading to increased health risks. Studies have suggested a correlation between the widespread introduction of high fructose corn syrup and rising obesity rates in the United States. Critics point to its potential role in contributing to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. The sweetener has been linked to increased triglyceride levels and fat accumulation in the liver, which may contribute to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Some studies indicate that high fructose corn syrup may interfere with the body's leptin signaling, potentially leading to overconsumption of calories. Concerns have been raised about trace amounts of mercury found in some syrup samples, attributed to the manufacturing process. The widespread use of this product in the food industry has been attributed to its cost-effectiveness and ability to extend the shelf life of products. Some researchers argue that the negative health effects associated with this syrup are no different from those of other added sugars when consumed in similar quantities. The debate surrounding this product has led some food manufacturers to replace it with other sweeteners in response to consumer concerns. The flood refers to a catastrophic global deluge described in various ancient texts and religious traditions, most famously in the biblical account of Noah's Ark. Many cultures around the world have flood myths with striking similarities, suggesting a possible shared origin or experience. Some researchers propose that these flood stories may be based on real events, such as the rapid flooding of the Black Sea basin around 5600 BCE. Geological evidence of marine fossils found on high ground and in unexpected locations has been interpreted by some as support for a worldwide flood. The discovery of submerged ruins and structures in various parts of the world has led some to speculate about advanced civilizations destroyed by a global flood. Proponents of flood geology argue that many of Earth's geological features, including the Grand Canyon, could have been formed rapidly by a catastrophic global flood. Some researchers point to the existence of a vast underground ocean discovered in Earth's mantle as a potential source for the floodwaters described in ancient accounts. The concept of a genetic bottleneck in human populations, supported by some genetic studies, has been linked by some to a catastrophic event like a global flood. Ancient flood stories often include elements of divine judgment and the preservation of a chosen few, which some interpret as moral lessons passed down through generations. The idea of cyclical catastrophes, including periodic global floods, has been proposed by some researchers as an explanation for the rise and fall of ancient civilizations. Some alternative historians suggest that a global flood could explain the sudden end of the last ice age and the rapid climate changes that followed. The theory that AIDS was spread by the CIA suggests that the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, was deliberately introduced into certain populations as part of a covert operation. Some believers in this theory point to the timing of the AIDS epidemic, which emerged shortly after the CIA's alleged biological warfare experiments in the 1970s. The rapid spread of AIDS in Africa and among marginalized communities in the United States is seen by some as evidence of targeted distribution. Declassified documents revealing the CIA's involvement in other covert medical operations, such as MKUltra, are cited as precedent for such activities. Some researchers claim that the complex nature of the HIV virus suggests it may have been artificially created or modified in a laboratory setting. The theory often includes claims that the CIA aimed to control population growth in developing countries or to eliminate specific groups within the United States. Supporters of this idea sometimes reference the hepatitis study conducted in Willowbrook State School as an example of unethical medical experimentation on vulnerable populations. Some versions of the theory suggest that the virus was initially tested on prisoners or other institutionalized individuals before being more widely disseminated. The lack of an effective cure or vaccine for many years after the discovery of HIV is interpreted by some as intentional suppression of treatment options. Certain advocates of this theory point to alleged inconsistencies in the official narrative of HIV's origins and early spread as evidence of a cover-up. The disproportionate impact of AIDS on certain communities is seen by some as aligning with historical patterns of discrimination and marginalization. Diseases made in a lab refers to the theory that certain pathogens, including viruses and bacteria, are artificially created or modified in laboratory settings for various purposes. This concept often involves the idea of bioweapons development, where microorganisms are engineered to be more virulent or resistant to treatment. Some researchers point to the existence of high-security biosafety level 4 laboratories as potential sites for the creation or modification of dangerous pathogens. Historical incidents, such as the accidental release of anthrax spores from a Soviet bioweapons facility in 1979, lend credence to the possibility of lab-created diseases. The rapid advancement of genetic engineering technologies, like CRISPR, has made it theoretically possible to modify existing pathogens or create new ones. gain-of-function research, which involves modifying pathogens to increase their virulence or transmissibility, is cited as a potential source of lab-created diseases. Some theories suggest that pharmaceutical companies might benefit from the creation of new diseases by developing and selling treatments or vaccines. The emergence of novel pathogens with unique genetic characteristics is sometimes interpreted as evidence of artificial origin or modification. The emergence of novel pathogens with unique genetic characteristics is sometimes interpreted as evidence of artificial origin or modification. Some theories suggest that pharmaceutical companies might benefit from the creation of new diseases by developing and selling treatments or vaccines. The emergence of novel pathogens with unique genetic characteristics is sometimes interpreted as evidence of artificial origin or modification. Satanic messages in music refers to the belief that certain songs contain hidden messages promoting Satanism or occult practices, often through backmasking or subliminal audio techniques. This theory gained prominence in the 1970s and 1980s with claims that popular rock bands were embedding demonic content in their recordings. Some believers argue that when played in reverse, specific songs reveal phrases or instructions related to Satan worship or other dark themes. The Beatles' song, Revolution 9, is often cited as an early example, with some claiming the reversed audio says, "Turn me on, dead man," fueling Paul McCartney death conspiracy theories. Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven became a focal point of this belief, with assertions that reversing part of the song reveals messages about Satan. Some religious groups have claimed that these hidden messages can subconsciously influence listeners, potentially leading them towards Satanism or immoral behavior. The theory extends to album artwork and music videos, with some interpreting certain images or symbols as evidence of occult affiliations. Critics argue that the human brain's pattern-seeking nature can lead to hearing coherent phrases in reversed audio, a phenomenon known as pareidolia. Some musicians have intentionally included reversed messages in their songs, either as artistic expression or to mock the controversy surrounding backmasking. Legal cases have emerged from this theory, with some parents and religious groups attempting to sue record companies for alleged subliminal messaging. Dietary misinformation refers to the spread of false or misleading claims about food, nutrition, and eating habits that can influence public health and individual dietary choices. This phenomenon encompasses a wide range of topics, from fad diets and miracle weight loss solutions to unfounded health claims about specific foods or supplements. Social media platforms have become a major breeding ground for dietary misinformation, with influencers and self-proclaimed experts often promoting unproven or potentially harmful nutritional advice. Some instances of dietary misinformation stem from misinterpretation or oversimplification of scientific studies, leading to exaggerated claims about the benefits or risks of certain foods. The rapid pace of nutrition research and changing dietary guidelines can contribute to public confusion and skepticism, creating an environment where misinformation can thrive. Food industry marketing tactics sometimes blur the line between factual information and promotional claims, leading to misconceptions about the nutritional value of certain products. Confirmation bias plays a role in the spread of dietary misinformation, as individuals tend to seek out and share information that aligns with their existing beliefs about food and health. Some forms of dietary misinformation exploit fears about modern food production methods, promoting natural or organic products as inherently healthier without scientific backing. The persistence of outdated nutritional beliefs, such as the necessity of dramatic calorie restriction for weight loss, can perpetuate misinformation even in the face of new scientific evidence. Cultural and personal biases about food can sometimes lead to the spread of misinformation, as traditional beliefs about certain foods' properties may not align with current scientific understanding. The complexity of human nutrition and individual differences in metabolism make it challenging to provide universal dietary advice, creating opportunities for oversimplified or misleading claims to gain traction. Artificial snow refers to the theory that some snowfall events are not natural occurrences, but are instead engineered or manufactured by governmental or private entities. Believers in this concept often point to unusual characteristics of snow, such as its slow melting rate or the presence of unfamiliar particles, as evidence of its artificial nature. Some adherents claim that artificial snow is created through cloud seeding techniques, which involve dispersing substances like silver iodide into clouds to induce precipitation. The theory sometimes incorporates the idea that artificial snow is part of climate manipulation efforts, either to combat global warming or to exert control over weather patterns. Observations of snow that appears to burn rather than melt when exposed to flame are cited as evidence of chemical additives or synthetic materials in the precipitation. Some proponents of this theory link artificial snow to chemtrail conspiracies, suggesting that the same aircraft used for alleged atmospheric spraying also distribute engineered snowfall. Reports of unusually heavy or unexpected snowfall in typically warm regions are sometimes interpreted as signs of weather modification technology at work. The presence of ice nucleation bacteria in some snow samples has been used to support claims of biological engineering in artificial snow production. Some believers argue that artificial snow is used to mask environmental damage or to create the illusion of normal weather patterns in areas affected by climate change. The theory often includes speculation about the potential health effects of exposure to engineered snow, ranging from respiratory issues to more severe long-term consequences. Bending spoons refers to the purported psychic ability to deform metal objects, particularly spoons, using only the power of the mind. This phenomenon gained popularity in the 1970s through the performances of Uri Geller, who claimed to possess psychokinetic abilities.
You see, it's becoming very soft. It is not an illusion. It's becoming like plastic. There's no force. Look, there's no force, and you can touch it. It's soft. Look. Touch it, it's cold. What happened is my mind and melt the metal down.
Some practitioners assert that metal bending is achieved through a combination of focused concentration and the channeling of an unknown form of energy. Witnesses to successful demonstrations often report feeling a sense of warmth or tingling in their hands when holding the spoon, which is interpreted as evidence of energy transfer. Skeptics argue that the apparent bending of spoons can be accomplished through various sleight-of-hand techniques or by exploiting the malleability of certain metals. Some researchers have proposed that metal bending might be related to quantum effects, suggesting that conscious observation could influence the atomic structure of materials. Experiments conducted by some parapsychologists have reported positive results in controlled settings, though these findings remain controversial within the scientific community. The concept of spoon bending has been linked to broader theories about human potential and untapped mental abilities. Some adherents believe that everyone possesses latent psychokinetic abilities that can be developed through practice and meditation. The phenomenon has been explored in popular culture, appearing in films, television shows, and literature, which has contributed to its enduring presence in public consciousness. Jackalope refers to a mythical creature said to be a cross between a jackrabbit and an antelope, typically depicted as a rabbit with antlers. This legendary animal is particularly associated with the American West, where tales of its existence have been circulated since the 1930s. Some believe the jackalope myth originated from sightings of rabbits infected with the Sheeple papillomavirus, which causes horn-like growths on the animal's head and body. Certain areas, such as Douglas, Wyoming, have embraced the jackalope legend, using it as a tourist attraction and even issuing tongue-in-cheek hunting licenses for the creature. Some cryptozoology enthusiasts argue that the jackalope could be a surviving species of horned rabbit, citing fossil evidence of extinct horned rabbit species. The jackalope has been incorporated into various forms of media, including films, television shows, and video games, further cementing its place in modern mythology. Some Native American traditions include stories of horned rabbits, which some believers cite as evidence of the jackalope's historical roots. Heaven's Gate refers to a religious UFO cult founded in the 1970s by Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. This group became infamous for a mass event of self-inflicted deaths in 1997. The group believed that Earth was about to be recycled, and that the only way to survive was to leave their human bodies and ascend to a higher level of existence. Members of Heaven's Gate adhered to a strict lifestyle, including celibacy and gender uniformity, which they believed prepared them for their extraterrestrial transformation. The cult's ideology combined elements of Christianity, science fiction, and New Age beliefs, interpreting biblical prophecies through the lens of alien visitation and space travel. Heaven's Gate members believed that Applewhite and Nettles were the two witnesses mentioned in the Book of Revelation, sent to Earth to guide chosen individuals to the next level. The group's final act was triggered by the appearance of the Hale-Bopp comet in 1997, which they interpreted as a sign that a spaceship was hiding behind the comet to take them to their celestial destination. All 39 members involved in the mass self-inflicted deaths were discovered wearing identical black shirts and Nike sneakers with purple shrouds covering their faces. The Heaven's Gate website, created in the mid-1990s, remains active and maintained to this day, preserving the group's teachings and beliefs for public access. Some researchers have drawn parallels between the Heaven's Gate ideology and ancient mystery cults, suggesting a deeper connection to historical religious practices. The group's meticulous planning and calm demeanor during their final days have led some to question the nature of their beliefs and the power of collective conviction. Self-help refers to the practice of improving one's life through personal effort, often guided by books, seminars, or other resources focused on personal development. This approach to self-improvement gained widespread popularity in the late 20th century, with numerous authors and speakers offering advice on topics ranging from career success to spiritual growth. Some self-help methods draw on psychological principles, such as cognitive behavioral techniques, to help individuals change negative thought patterns and behaviors. Critics argue that the self-help industry often oversimplifies complex issues and promotes a one-size-fits-all approach to personal problems. Supporters of self-help practices point to anecdotal evidence of individuals who have overcome challenges or achieved significant life improvements through these methods. Neuroscientific research has shown that certain self-help techniques, such as mindfulness and positive affirmations, can lead to measurable changes in brain structure and function. The self-help movement has been linked to broader cultural trends, including individualism and the pursuit of personal fulfillment as a primary life goal. Some self-help concepts, like the law of attraction, propose that positive or negative thoughts can directly influence a person's life experiences and material circumstances. The industry has faced criticism for promoting unrealistic expectations and potentially discouraging people from seeking professional help for serious mental health issues. Certain self-help gurus have achieved celebrity status, with their personal success stories often used as evidence of the effectiveness of their teachings. The rise of social media and online platforms has led to new forms of self-help content, including motivational Instagram accounts, YouTube channels, and podcasts focused on personal development. FEMA camps refer to the theory that the Federal Emergency Management Agency is preparing to detain large numbers of American citizens in concentration camp-style facilities. Believers in this concept often point to the existence of emergency relocation centers and the agency's authority to establish temporary housing during disasters as evidence of a larger hidden agenda. Some argue that executive orders and legislation, such as the National Defense Authorization Act, provide legal framework for the implementation of martial law and mass internment. Satellite imagery and videos of alleged FEMA camp locations have been circulated online, purportedly showing fenced compounds with guard towers and large-capacity living quarters. The theory sometimes incorporates claims about the stockpiling of plastic coffins and the preparation of mass graves, interpreted as signs of planned large-scale population control. Some proponents of the FEMA camp theory link it to concerns about gun confiscation, suggesting that the camps would be used to detain those who resist disarmament efforts. Historical precedents, such as the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II, are often cited as examples of the government's willingness to detain its own citizens. The theory has been connected to broader conspiracies about a New World Order or One World Government, with FEMA camps seen as a tool for suppressing dissent. Some believers point to job listings for internment specialists and the refurbishment of former military bases as indications of preparation for mass detentions. The concept of FEMA camps has been popularized through various alternative media outlets, documentaries, and online forums, contributing to its persistence in conspiracy theory circles.